If a drunk man falls in the gutter and he's laying there, he gets up a man. When a woman, drunk woman, falls in the gutter, she's no longer a woman to them. They look down on her. She just fell just like the man. She just fell. We're held to a different standard.
When I went to rehab for the first time, I was one of 3 women. There were about 30 of us there. I was the youngest person there by 10 years, and I was the only heroin addict. There is a barrier for a lot of women to getting help because of the specific stigma attached to female drug addicts. Particularly for mothers, there's an idea that you can't be a good mother, that you can't be valid as a woman if you also have this addiction, and it prevents a lot of women from getting help.
I was the only mom at my detox facility. Most of the people who were there were men or boys in their late teens and early 20s. There were a few women there the same age, but most people there were there because of heroin abuse. And I felt kind of ridiculous going to the same place where they were because I had never used heroin. It was the same kind of justification that I used at the detox facility that I used in my real life. Well, I wasn't using heroin. My addiction isn't that bad, or things could be much worse, so why did I need to be there? But the truth was I needed to be there because it was a safe place to be.
A woman has a much higher rate of getting involved with sex work than a man who is in his addiction. A woman has a much higher likelihood of being raped or sexually abused. A woman has a much higher rate of being a victim of domestic violence. All of these kinds of things that I am absolutely not saying don't also happen to men, but at an astronomically higher rate for women that by their very nature are scary, horrific, shame-inducing experiences.
I think part of what happens for women in addiction is this shame factor, which is there for men as well. I think that women carry shame differently than men. From a very early age, young women are not taught that it's okay to express anger, and all that anger becomes internalized shame.
I was raised there, certain things that women just don't do. You had to conduct yourself in a certain way to be respected. I didn't want to have that look. I just felt bad enough. I didn't need the look. When I was living in a treatment facility, soon as women got clean, they wanted their kids. And the guilt and shame of leaving their children for so long haunts them. And now they can't medicate the feeling. So a lot of times it's a struggle for them to make a decision between their kids and recovery.
I used my daughter as an excuse in a lot of different ways, and a big one was I didn't want to leave her. That was the way I saw it in my mind. And when I finally went into treatment, I even tried to use her as an excuse once I was in treatment. They wanted me to extend and stay longer inpatient. I hit my end of my 30 days and I was like, I'm good to go. I got this, guys. Like, my daughter needs me. The counselor happened to strike when the moment was right. She pulled me aside and she was like, look, Jess, what's the big deal of you to stay here for another 30 days for you to really get this so she never has to go without her mom again?
Relapse isn't always about getting high. Relapse is about wanting to feel the way you used to feel, the way you used to feel normal, not high or not out of it. Relapse is a part of recovery.
The recovery process around opiate addiction is not linear. There are expectations that people have that someone's going to go to rehab for 28 days and then it's all going to be fine. That once they detox and go to a 12-step program, that it's all going to be solved. And it's just not that simple. When I was finally caught after this on and off use for 10 years, I did go to rehab, and it took me another 5 years of relapsing and another trip to rehab to finally have something click for me.
No one wants to become an addict. Even if you know you're suffering from addiction, it is an illogical thing. You can't just wake up one day and decide that you're not going to take the drugs that you've been taking, because not only is it your new normal, but you get very physically sick. Opioid withdrawal is a long and painful process. I tried to quit several times on my own, and each time I got so sick that I would start using pills again, not to get high, but just to make sure that I wasn't sick.
I didn't know how to recover. It was so overwhelming that I could never, ever get high again. After 30 years, you're trying to tell me I could never get high again? that was a little overwhelming.
And I'll just give one example. My mom is a breast cancer survivor, and not even addressing all of the issues, like her insurance company didn't challenge her, they didn't wait for it to be stage 4 until they addressed it. Not even addressing all of that. On the last day of treatment, right, my mom was told, okay, so this is all the aftercare. Recovery support was built into her treatment plan because cancer is a chronic relapsing condition. And that's very different with the way we treat addiction. We're lucky if you get 28 days of insurance benefits or ability to access a bed, and then it's kind of like, see you later. And then we wonder why people are unable to maintain their recovery and are re-engaging in use. I think it's important to have a level of awareness that there could be a likelihood for a relapsing condition to relapse, but it doesn't have to be.
I had to change some things. And at first, in the beginning, I was stubborn. I said some things I'm just not willing to change. If I really wanted to recover, everything had to be up for grabs. I just wanted to feel good about joy again. That's where the work begins, is when you come home. You have to have a plan and stick to it on a daily basis. It's not a sometimes thing, because the disease waits patiently to creep up.
Those months where I was clean were months that I could have overdosed and died. That's not a waste. There's days where I couldn't put an hour, let alone 30 minutes together without having to use. So being able to say that you got 3 months or 6 months, that is a huge accomplishment. I had somebody one time tell me when they asked how long I had clean, I was like, oh, I only have 4 months. He's like, no, you earned that 4 months. I worked to have that.
One day at a time. I just can't get high today. Just a day. And that's all I do. I just for today, I don't use. And I worry about tomorrow when it gets here. Because we'll think all the way down the line and we're pained up about the past and afraid about the future. Let's just do today.
I've been in recovery for 2.5 years, and it's 2.5 hard and thoughtful years. I was terrified to tell people about my secret. I thought they would judge me. I thought they would hate me. I thought they wouldn't understand. But the truth was, everyone I've spoken to has been so understanding and loving and supportive, and I wouldn't be able to be in recovery without their help.
Part of recovering is being able to look at the past and not hold on to the shame attached to that. That shame doesn't belong to me. If somebody else has an issue with it or it makes them uncomfortable, that's not my problem. The bottom line, and I this is something I want to impart to anyone that's going through recovery from addiction, is that part of the reason that honesty is so important is that our character is not built on the mistakes that we made. Our character is built on how we got up after those mistakes were made and changed things and moved forward.
I got sober when I was 21, which I just think is important to say, because so often the narrative is that, like, young people can't get well, or that it's just a phase and young people don't need to get sober, neither of which I have found to be true. So my life is pretty awesome. I'm married, I'm a homeowner, I'm a dog mom. I show up as a daughter, as an aunt, as a sister, as a friend. I'm an active member of my community. I'm employed, I'm an employer. I'm a recent graduate with my master's degree. And equally as important, if not more so, is that, like, take all of that away and I'm just a relatively, like, whole human being. That, like, nagging insecurity and fear and anxiety that I had my whole life has been diminished because I filled my life up with things that make me feel good about myself. Don't give up just after one shot of getting well.
I'm getting better every day. I'm not reduced to thinking like I thought and acted like I act. I can be joy now. I don't have to be tough. All I have to be is me. And I've never had that freedom. And that's all I ever really wanted. I just wanted the opportunity to be joy without that cloud hanging over me all of the time. So now I am a peer recovery coach at Johns Hopkins Bayview. I gotta tell you, I really like my job. I like helping people. A lot of us, when we get clean and sober, we don't go back to the neighborhoods. We don't try to pull anybody out because we're worried about our sobriety, our recovery. But when somebody, for once, tells you that you're not so bad, that I see the good in you. It gives them a reason to try.
I've been working in the substance abuse treatment field for coming up on 3 years now, which I absolutely love what I do. I believe in what I do, and it gives me purpose and fulfillment every day. I truly believe the opposite of addiction is connection. So find somebody that you can open up to and connect with, and I promise you that if you choose and decide to get help, you won't regret it a day in your life.
I thought to myself, what am I going to do if I stop using? I've been using for 30 years. What am I going to do? When that door closed, a new world opened for me. I couldn't imagine my life like it is now. Come to the new life, and it's enough room for everybody.